Hey y'all, it's me again, Heather Jo Flores. Welcome to the Permaculture Women's Guild online permaculture design course. And I just want to take a few minutes to tell you about what permaculture is and what permaculture isn't. So in this first module, we're going to go through and give you a few different women's perspectives on what permaculture is. And then we're also going to cover the history of permaculture, some of the foundational ideas, get into some of the tools and techniques, just a real quick overview. And then at the end of this module, I will do a course preview for you, so you sort of have a really clear idea of what to expect and how the course is going to flow. For now, let's get into what permaculture is and what permaculture isn't. So a lot of permaculture study is about learning to recognize patterns in nature so that we can mimic them. And for me, the permaculture studies, permaculture as a field of study, is very much in a starburst pattern. It's a sort of a supernova that shoots out in every direction from the nucleus. From this prime directive, which is that if our ethics are care for the earth, care for the people, and care about the future, then the only ethical decision is to take responsibility for ourselves and those whom we bring into the world. So this inevitably connects to land use, social relationships, self-awareness, and so much more. So just sort of a fun what permaculture is and what permaculture isn't, and I will elaborate a little bit on each point, but just to give you a rundown, because there are a lot of misconceptions, and it's important that you use this information for good rather than ill, because it's a really powerful body of work. So what permaculture is super fun. You get exercise, you get to be out, you get to use your mind, you get to feel smart, you get to innovate and create and interact with other people, and it's a really, on the day-to-day quality of life, practicing permaculture is wonderful. Permaculture is possible. So pull your head out of the clouds and look at practical, small, slow solutions of what can actually be done. Permaculture is a possible thing, and we'll get into the impossible in a moment. Permaculture is hands-on. It's action-based. You really have to do the work. So it's cool that you're here in this online permaculture course, but you're not going to become a permaculturist until you go out and you do the hands-on activities and you do the optional suggested hands-on activities and you get out into your community and you build a body of work that is based on your physical experiential knowledge. Permaculture is a toolbox to add to your collection. The permaculture tools are not the only tools in the box. It's really important to remember that. Permaculture is a philosophy, like this prime directive that I just said. The only ethical choice is to take responsibility for yourself and those whom you bring into the world. That's obviously a philosophy, and that can be debated like any philosophy and should be questioned and taken apart, and you have to really work through your own feelings and develop your own approach. Permaculture is also a science. It should be methodical, empirical. You should keep records. You should be aware of rhetoric and jargon and hyperbole and generalisations. It's very easy to call yourself a permaculturist when you're not actually taking actions based on principles of cause and effect. Don't do what's been done and failed. Do the research. Behave like a scientist at least some of the time as a permaculturist. Permaculture is alive. It's ever evolving. If you're successful in your perpetuation of biodiversity, if your stewardship is successful, then by definition you're creating more and more work for yourself. So it's never over, and it should never be static. So permaculture is a moving, evolving, philosophical, scientific, hands-on, possible fun toolbox. And permaculture is also imperfect. So if you see things in this course or you read something and you're like, that is just completely wrong, that's awesome that you thought that, because that means that you're thinking critically and that you're not just letting us indoctrinate you with what we believe. Because there's a lot of different women teaching this course, and a lot of us have different values and beliefs. We don't all agree on everything, and that's awesome. So if something makes you uncomfortable, we're asking you to just be with that and maybe write about it and allow that discomfort to push you forward into responding and engaging in that conversation, because it isn't perfect. And it never will be, just like the world is perfect and isn't perfect. Just like you. You are perfect and you never will be. Let's move on to what permaculture isn't. Permaculture is not a cult. Permaculture does not give you something to belong to that gives you an excuse to condescend to people who don't belong to it. That is not getting us anywhere. And I'm sure some of you are here in this course because you've had negative experiences with trying to penetrate a permaculture community. So that's not what we want. It's not what we're trying to do. And I encourage you not to perpetuate the cult aspect of permaculture. You can come and go. You can check out anytime you like. And you can leave. It's okay. And you can leave and you can come back. And I myself have had a complicated relationship with permaculture, and I have left and come back. And every time I'm stronger and more clear on how I can use these tools and techniques without getting sucked into the sometimes negative and very rigid aspects of a cultish approach. Permaculture is not gardening. All permaculture designs need to have gardening involved in some way. There needs to be the growing of food, and we need to eat. However, if all you're doing is gardening, you are not doing permaculture. Permaculture is about designing with nature. It is about patterns and interdependence of systems. So it's important to recognize that. And a lot of people are teaching permaculture and calling it permaculture, but they're not. They're teaching gardening. They're teaching multi-layer, polycultural, organic gardening, which is lovely, but it's important to make that distinction, and we will revisit that again and again in this module. Permaculture is not a template. It's not, there's not something that you can just stamp onto your property and it's going to work. It's not a kit. It's an evolving, it's cultivating a designer's mind and understanding, starting to see the flow between the elements. So you can have a solar shower and a composting toilet and a hugelkultur and a garden and solar panels on your house and a cob bench all on your site, and that's not permaculture. It becomes a permaculture when you pull things into relationship with each other and when the humans are in relationship with the land and with the animals, and it becomes this ever-evolving system. That is what permaculture is. So it's important to recognize the distinction between that. You don't just plop it down. This isn't Legos. This is culture change. Permaculture is also not superficial. So there's one of the principles in permaculture is that the user must pay, in that everything that we take away, we must return. Otherwise, it will return itself in another way because of the basic laws of thermodynamics. But it's important to be aware of what we're taking and to try to give back what we've taken in terms of damage to the environment and use of natural resources. And this goes back to this taking responsibility for ourselves and those that we bring into the world. And so this is what I mean when I say permaculture is not superficial. It's not just making cute terraces in your garden and putting up a greenhouse. You can do that stuff, and there's nothing wrong with doing that stuff, but to engage as a permaculturist it's political, fundamentally. And so if that scares you, that's okay. Just, again, be with that discomfort, and we'll move forward. So the final thing that permaculture really isn't is it's not something that you can point to. It's you can't say, oh, that's my permaculture right there. It's something that it's an essence. So there are lots of elements in a permaculture that you can point to, but that those connections, those relationships, that ever-evolving experience, that's what we want you to understand about whole system design. So, just remember, this is not the one true path. Beware of the hubris and beware of tendencies to permavangelize. We don't need any more preachers in the permaculture movement. We need hardworking team players who are open to experimentation, who just really want to try, and who are kind. So here we all are, and welcome to the course, and I hope you enjoy it, and let me know if you need anything, and talk to you soon.